Oh, can't do that. Can't do that. Swap it around. Guys in the room.
Thank you everyone for coming this evening. It is our great pleasure to be here with you as part of the Recording Academy's Day of Service. I have an incredible panel of music makers. I have worked with most of you and they are amazing. The last time I was on this stage was my senior recital in 1997. So I'm thrilled to be back here at my alma mater with this incredible group of creators. We will have a moment for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please hang on to them. Thank you guys for all being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. First, we're going to start with, this is a program called Wisdom Worth Sharing, that we have all been out in the music world, and unlike knowledge is learned, wisdom is lived. And we've all been living out in the world, and we've collected wisdom, and there are indispensable pieces of wisdom that you learn along the way, that you wish you knew at the very beginning. Things you wish, I wish I always knew that. So we're going to go around and each give a piece of wisdom that we've learned and we wished we knew at the very beginning of our careers. So I'm going to end, our bios will be behind us on this projector, and there's a QR code and a URL there if you want to see bios as we go, so if you want to be able to read more about us. And if anybody needs me to read that out, it's go.resensitize.com/wisdom. And you'll be able to read all of our bios. Okay, first off, John Dull. John is a senior VP at Columbia Records, Sony Music. He has shaped the careers of artists like John Legend, Celine Dion, Harry Connick Jr., and Ricky Martin, with over 250 million albums sold worldwide, contributing to the iconic movie soundtracks like Sleepless in Seattle and Forrest Gump. Thank you for being here, John.
Pleasure. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you. If you could offer up one piece of indispensable wisdom worth sharing, something that you wished you knew at the beginning of your careers, what would it be?
I learned that one of my greatest strengths was my naivety. And when I didn't know better, I followed my heart and my gut. And that never steered me wrong. Never made a wrong choice. Now, whether it worked or not, that's different, but it worked for me. And my heart was in it, and my blood was in it. So I just sort of followed that as my guiding light. And luckily I've been more right than wrong, so.
Amazing. Is there a specific thing that comes to mind when you think of when that wisdom was affirmed for you?
I think early on, because I'm not a great reader music-wise. I don't read music-wise, but I just, my ears steer me. So all the instruments that I play, the music that I play, I did from just what I heard, and I would just play, and I just always did that since I was 4 years old. I just always heard something, and I just knew how to get it out musically, and that was just my language and my output. So it's just sort of always been with me, and I always know that, like when I'm listening to music, and I'm listening to a new artist, and I start to rationalize, well, the track is really good, the beat's great, the vocal sounds really good. Whenever I do that, I know I'm going down the wrong path. I know to turn it off and walk away from it, because I'm rationalizing it as opposed to feeling it. Because all of the successes that I've had, I get goosebumps when the artists that I work with, and it just it's right. It just feels right. And I've been told many times that I was out of my mind when I did the Titanic soundtrack, the Titanic song "My Heart Will Go On." I was told by my company it was going to be a complete failure, and I thought I was going to be fired.
That's crazy.
But that's, you kind of just do it. Because
Amazing.
I didn't know any other way to do it. I could not do it, so I just did it.
I'm so glad you made that choice for all of us. Thank you. And it reminds me of a story I heard about the writing of the music for The Wizard of Oz. I think it was Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg were disagreeing about whether Over the Rainbow was a keeper or not. And they got Ira Gershwin to be the arbiter, and he said, keep it. This is a similar story. So I'm so glad you listened to your gut. That's an amazing piece
Always.
of wisdom.
Always.
Amazing. Thank you. Mia Moravis. When I think of Mia Moravis, I like to say she has her own quirky version of an EGOT. Mia is a Tony and Emmy nominated producer. She serves on the board of governors for the Recording Academy New York chapter and is known for participating in and producing Grammy nominated albums and highly acclaimed Broadway productions like Jagged Little Pill. Her projects include the upcoming documentary Sweet Harmony, The Manhattan Transfer. Her resume is long and her career is storied. Mia, if you had one piece of indispensable wisdom at the beginning that you've gained over the years, at the beginning of your career, that you wish something you've gained that you wish you had at the beginning of your career, what would it be?
Well, I must say that someone said to me very early on, rely upon yourself. That doesn't mean you're selfish, it just means you're of the self and you're going to trust yourself. And they also said pave relationships. Back then you would say don't shotgun all your cassettes to every single record label because that's just not going to get anywhere. You have to pave relationships. And that's one thing that's really, really important. I'll give you an example of what happens to me very, very often is because I'm a Broadway producer and I've had some level of success. People can see on your socials what your bio says and they can look you up on LinkedIn. And so they write to you, which is fine. I get probably 10 requests of new musicals a day, and predominantly from people I don't know. But my favorite, after landing back at JFK, coming home from Italy, was saying, I'm going to finally check the email. I'm going to check the email. I've been ignoring it for 2 weeks. I've been away, And I saw, dear insert first name here, I have a new musical. And so I was tired and jet lagged, but I laughed. But also what I would say is there's nothing untoward about paving relationships with people, because the more that you pave relationships with people and the more that they can see how valuable it will be to collaborate with you, the more trust you'll have. You could meet a collaborator that you'll be with for decades, because you develop this wonderful trust and enthusiasm with and for each other. And I'm really glad that I was told that, and I'm really glad I was told to rely upon myself, because I'm kind of a happy puppy, and when I'm quirky is not an unusual word to fling around, but I just always felt that it was really important that I didn't change myself because of someone else's whim. And the reason is this, because now that I'm in the seat that I'm in, when we see people come into a studio to record music, or someone comes to me and they say, I have a new artist, will you take a look at them? And when we see people come in to audition for Broadway shows, we already have all the other famous people that you're already aware of. We already have them. We want to know you. What's unique about you? There's nothing wrong with going in and letting it fly and just being who you are, because that's the spark that's going to be exciting to us on this side of the audition table, so to speak. And so celebrate yourself, and don't worry, pave relationships. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Some people might say, well, the world goes so fast, and yes, it does, and that might be part of a problem. And when John said follow your gut, I believe that that's true too. Copyright trademark Mia Moravis, gatekeepers have no power if you don't stand at their gate. And it is copyright, trademark me, Ramos, I promise. Feel free to point and laugh just gently. But truly, while you're knocking on a gate just trying to get in because someone's dangling a carrot in front of you, what can happen is, follow your gut and gracefully step away. There's 4 other gates that are open to you, but you didn't know it because you were banging on that one. So opportunities and big balls of glitter will come your way. Be patient also. I'm almost done, I promise. But what I would always say is I was very fast. I was really excited. But one of the things I finally learned, and I'm glad someone said that to me, you've got to be patient, is because there's all this other glitter that'll come down in those moments of taking a breath as you step back. And all these other gifts you'll get if you're patient. And I am proof, #never give up. I was XYZ decades old when I became a Tony nominee for Jagged Little Pill for producing Jagged Little Pill. And I'd been working for a really long time, and I finally am a producer of a Grammy-nominated album. That was decades too. Shh. That was last year. And so, so it's just a matter of really trusting yourself, enjoy it. I would say you are permitted to feel joy and comfort as you create your art.
That's beautiful. There was so much in there, and it was so beautiful. Thank you. And I'm so glad this is being filmed so that we can all watch back and really digest every little part of it. I love that. Thank you, Mia. Okay, Denise. Lovely. And that Grammy-nominated album also was so beautiful. It was called Aquamarine, and it was by Kirsten Agresta Copley, wonderful harpist, and it was mastered by Maria Rice, who's down on the other end.
Yeah.
And Jeff did the Atmos master.
Amazing. You guys are amazing.
Got a little bit of Team Aqua sitting here.
Yeah. So next we have Denise Barbarita, who is a 3-time Grammy-winning engineer and mixer, and she owns Mona Lisa Studios in Long Island City. Denise is also a singer-songwriter and a guitarist with extensive touring and independent music releases, and she is an incredible engineer. Denise.
Thank you.
If you had one piece of wisdom that you have now at the beginning of your career that you wish you had, it would have made it that much more technicolor, what would it be?
Well, Mia actually touched on it a bit, and I would say the word patience. If anybody knows me, they know I'm not patient. It's a skill that I'm still learning even into my advanced age. I know you laugh, but it's true. Patience is one of those things that if you don't have it, it gets you in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's one thing to be a go-getter. It's one thing to want to do everything everywhere all at once. But you also need a moment to see the big picture. And I think that's something that people forget. I did for many years. Of seeing the entire big picture, that you don't have to be everything and you don't have to be everywhere all at once, if that makes sense. Especially I think coming up from I started as an assistant, a GA, and then as an assistant engineer, and then as a house engineer. There was a track at the time, that doesn't really exist anymore, unfortunately. But it was always having to be patient, to wait your turn. It was always wait your turn. They'll train you when it's ready. When you're there, they'll train you. And I'm like, no, I want it now. Now, give it to me. Don't you see? And that's not the way it works. 9 times out of 10, you watch, you observe, you learn, and then you find out what the good practices are, and you also learn what not to do through observing, especially in studio sessions. So I think for me, that was really the lesson that I still need to learn, is patience.
I love that.
Patience.
And I love the way that you are telling us about this lesson, because you're embodying that life is constant growth and being You're still on this journey of becoming, which is so beautiful because we're always always becoming. So that's so beautiful the way you put that, and I really appreciate that.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And next up we have Jeff Lipton. Jeff is the founder of Peerless Mastering, one of the most sought after premier mastering houses in the world. He is Grammy nominated, a Grammy nominated mastering engineer with a specialty in Atmos. And he is known for his meticulous sound quality. Jeff has worked with many artists across many genres, including two of my favorites, Spoon and Jeff Tweedy. Jeff is an absolute pleasure to work with, and I'm delighted to hear what wisdom he has to share. Jeff, if you had a magnificent piece of wisdom that you have now at the beginning of, that you've gotten along the way at the beginning of your career, if you could have that, what would it be?
I mean, there's so many things to talk about. I mean, I think I wouldn't have done many things differently. I started out, I fell into my career by accident. I went to Boston University, and I didn't study music, and but I always had a desire to work with music, and I was really into music. So the way I got to where I was I used to go and record bands live at clubs, and I would master the recordings and give them back to the bands if I liked it, if I liked how they sounded. And my first client was one of these bands, and everything just built up word of mouth. And I guess the most important thing was, every relationship is worthwhile in the industry. It's really good to do everything you can to be great to other humans. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's been wonderful to work with so many people for so many years. Like, I have some clients I've been working with for 28, 29 years, and it's so wonderful to have those relationships and get to see them grow as artists and grow with them. And the other great thing about my job is I feel like I'm constantly learning new things and growing as an engineer, and meeting such wonderful people like you and Denise and everyone on this panel, and definitely you. And yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, that's really beautiful. It sounds to me like if I were to distill this story, it sounds like you followed your bliss.
I did.
You followed your heart. You felt a connection to the music and this way of serving the music, and you followed that trail of service.
And yeah, and I think the best thing, I just recommend, if you want to do something, just try doing it and work really hard at it. Like the first album I mastered, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it took me 6 months to get it right. But I was like, the artist was fine with like the first few drafts, and I'm like, no, it's not good enough yet. It's not good enough. And I just kept working on it until I felt that it was the best I could do. And now I can do that a lot faster. But I just think, just stick with something you love and work hard at it, and be great to the people you get to work with.
Well, I have to say you are great to the people who you work with, because we just did a project together, and your customer care alone, let alone the product of the work, is incredible. But also your customer care and the respect and love you give to the artwork and to your clients is incredible. So your clients are grateful to you and the whole spirit with which you approach your work.
And I'm grateful to get to work with you and Denise, and you guys made something so special, and it was really fun.
Thank you. Next up, Renee Hart. We go way back. Rene Hart is a versatile bassist. He collaborates across jazz and experimental music. Praised for creativity and grounding presence on global stages, he has been the bass player of choice for a diverse group of musicians, from David Amram, Tracy Bonham, James Hunter, Allison Miller, and Pete Seeger, as well as countless jazz artists. Rene is an asset to every band. I think that's what the New York Times said about you. Is that correct? I think so.
No, I don't even know where this one came
I think I did read that, and I would second that. He is an asset to every bandstand. We've been on many together.
Try.
Rene,
Monica.
if you had one piece of wisdom that you've picked up along the way at the very beginning of your career, and it would make your career feel that much more vibrant, what would it be?
Don't wear khaki. But it sounds like a joke, but on some levels it's a metaphor, really. I mean, and to speak to what people have said is, you know, you guys have talked a lot about trusting your own ears, trusting yourself, and I think there's something that can take a while to realize is, you know, be open-minded, stay observant. And I sort of feel the second you start thinking you understand how something is, you've stopped understanding it. You no longer, things are changing all around you all the time, the music, everything. And, you know, I have a definition of art. It's that, you know, the second you say it's this or it's that, someone will come along and just do exactly the opposite and blow everyone away. So, you know, I think that do be true to yourself. Do think about what is important to you. You know, it's also good to get paid sometimes, but like, but that said, you know, I think that's pretty important stuff. Is, are you comfortable with what you're doing? Is it fun? Do you believe in it? You know. Yeah, what else would be important? Mental health is important. By the same token also of holding yourself accountable to stay observant and be kind is really important, and be present. I would say think about the people you're working with and you're around, and expect that. You know, I know that when I was younger, I would try to, even on the bandstand or just in life, I would try to, well, I can do something to make this work. If something wasn't working, it's like, well, I could play that, and I would try to adjust to compensate for things. And at some point I realized maybe that's not helping, actually. You know, let things unfold as they are, and just, you know, like I feel like I was like, well, I can do fifth business. I can make this work no matter what, you know. And the way I play is a lot of times it is very fifth business. I like things to sound good. I like people to sound good. I'm playing with. I like them to be comfortable. I like to watch their face to like see if they like. Well, when I first started playing with David Amram, he's 93 now. He's an interesting man. You should check him out. But he had a regular gig at Cornelia Street, rest in peace, and. You know, we've rehearsed maybe once ever in the 10 years I've been playing with him. And so I learned his music off YouTube and wherever. And then I realized after a couple of times playing with him, he had this little tell. If I played something he didn't like or he heard something he didn't like, his eye would twitch. And I was like, oh, well, there we are. Don't do that. I was like, oh, you know. And he's still kind of like that. He's so kind, he doesn't want to say anything, you know. But he's like, you know, he's
I
funny.
love that.
He seems very freestyle, but he's also very type A at the same time, you know. Like, being in the studio with him is a little hectic. He's a little wound up. He's a beautiful, wonderful artist.
I love that.
So there you go.
There's a lot there also to unpack, but I would say one of the things that I'm getting the theme of patience. Be patient, and I do love the lock in with people, and that is true. I've experienced that with you, and
Be there for
you do your homework as another thing that you didn't talk about, but I can say that about you.
I got schooled.
But you do your homework, like you
Yeah.
think about who you're working with and
Yeah, I like
what
to-
matters to them. and-
Yeah. What
And-
matters to them, how to, the higher level you go up, people want you to play their music and they don't want to tell you how to play it. I remember, I learned a lot of things from Billy Hart, and he told me once, he said, the whole gig is figuring out what you're supposed to be playing. At some level, everyone can play, It's figuring out what you're supposed to be playing. In fact, he told me when he first got to New York, Arnie, who's kind of created this school in a lot of ways,
The great Arnie Lawrence.
he said, Arnie had all the gigs, and I realized we were on a gig together, and I realized he couldn't read, and he just, if he was in a comfort thing, he would, if he was comfortable with the music, he was great, playing the Tonight Show and all that, that's a reading gig, really. But he just sort of had that way sway. One other thing, that happened with Billy that I would say was formative is I was doing a tour with this piano player, and he was the drummer, and it was a long time ago, I really didn't have a right to be playing with Billy at all, yet.
You were always excellent.
Well, whatever. Billy was schooling me all over the place, like just schooling me, and I remember we got to, I think it was Ottawa or something, and we had a day and a half off before the show, and I was like, hey, I'd knock on his door, you want to go see this band or that band? He's like, no, he's got his he was way back, he had a CD player, portable CD player, and he's just learning people's music for records. 2 days later, we do the show at this theater, whatever, and the bass amp was terrible. And afterwards, I was like, sorry about the bass amp, and he goes, how long have we been here? I was like, 2 days, and he's like, what you been doing? I was like, oh, I was checking. He's like, you really only have one job here for 45 minutes. You should come over here and make sure the gear's right and it's working, and do your due diligence. You're the artist, you're the one who makes it good. Someone else can't be there and make sure the sound is, if you're an artist, you have to make it that good. I mean, if everyone can do it, the person who brought in the amp would do that, So, beyond it.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and I was like,
That's
okay,
powerful.
you're right. I was like, you're right.
And that was career-changing for you, that Steve always prepared.
Yeah.
And with anybody who's listening, I'm sure.
Even if it's just in the lobby right before sound check.
Thank you. Maria. Maria Rice is a 3-time Grammy nominee and platinum certified mastering engineer at Peerless Mastering. She advocates for music education and industry inclusion, championing mentorship and mental wellness initiatives. She is also COO at Reality Hack Inc., leading global events like MIT's Reality Hack, merging XR technology with creativity and education. And she is so gifted. Maria, if you had one piece of wisdom from day one that you've collected that would have made everything better, what would it be?
First, I'd like to say I think it's funny that you took my AI-generated bio from the internet. I hope it made some sense.
I think mine was too.
Nice. Yay. Use the tools. Save our brains.
I didn't make that one.
Yeah, I guess, putting myself back towards the beginning of time. Well, I wish I had bought more pieces of a Bitcoin and held on to them, because, sometimes this life is a sacrifice to follow your bliss. But really, I think it's really important to sort of find your tribe and be social And that's kind of something that maybe probably doesn't have to be said, but it would have had to be said to me. So, especially, I didn't really, there weren't really a lot of like female people in my position that I knew of at the time. Because I wasn't out there, I was just in the studio, I was just like, I'm just gonna keep my head down while I'm like, you know, getting experience, and then, you know, my work will speak for itself one day. So it wasn't until like way later, after sort of, you know, doing some events like this, coming to New York, whatever. Oh, by the way, I'm in Boston, so that's kind of it's kind of relevant there. I feel like it's like the Tatooine of New York. Or when I'm at these like recording academy meetings, they're like, oh yeah, there's two Boston people in the corner there, it's covered in dust.
Come on now.
And then there's some kind of Red Sox joke in there. Anyways, and then, you know, and also there's this, or at least I don't know why, but maybe it's around a lot of that kind of energy growing up or whatever, but there's this feeling of like, oh, well, if other mastering engineers, there are not a lot of us, and so like if they're your competition, you know. And, you know, that was such nonsense. It's actually when so there's actually a group of women engineers that, you know, that sort of, like, one was originally taught me the position as I was starting to work with Jeff. Her name was Jessica Thompson. And then, you know, they had formed a little coven, we call ourselves, of just people to like get together, and they invited me on this trip to Sonoma County, which is like,
Can I come? I mean, this is amazing,
And-
a coven of engineers.
yeah, and I'm like, first, I'm not really a girl power person. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends, and here we are. I'm like, oh my gosh, but yeah. And it was like, felt like a person, and I had people, and it wasn't anything that you would expect. It was like everybody like collectively increased, you know, our frequencies increased in amplitude. It was an additive effect, a constructive interference, if you will, and and it was and if I hadn't, you know, sort of, they were the ones that sort of put the idea in my head of like running for the board of the Recording Academy. I'm like, I never would have thought, again, the Tatooine thing, and never would have thought that would have been like a thing. And then they're like, well, I did it, and then it became a thing, and then it happened again, and then, you know, then I got to meet people like Mia and all of you guys. And that wouldn't have happened if I just sort of, you know, stayed back in the corner and, you know, kind of just kept to my own. And so it's really important to like to you know, work with your professional peers and as human beings, and, you know, just be chill.
I love that. I love the find your tribe wisdom. That is so rich and so real. And I grew up Quaker, and so did Renee. And there's, not kidding. You did too. So did we have 3 Quakers on the panel? How do we do that?
There's no music in Quakerism.
Yeah, that's true too.
That's the problem, they can't
That is
dance.
wild. Sit with that for a minute. Okay, well, there's this Quaker, I don't know what it is, story of 2 mules, where you have 2 mules that are, you know, tied to a string together, and the idea is that you both want to eat, and there could be hay on both sides, and the mules could be pulling away from each other, but neither can eat. It's not until they cooperate and work together that they both get to eat and go to one of the piles of hay. I think I have this poster somewhere in my house from some Quaker bookshop years ago. But anyway, the idea that you find your tribe and you support each other in getting what you need, rather than there will be competition out there in any line of work, but it's the getting embroiled in that stops you versus finding your people supports you. It's a beautiful piece of wisdom. Stephen, let me find your bio. Although I probably know it by heart, I'm going to find it anyway. He just came straight from a recording. Stephen is a wildly talented educator in harmony and piano player, and recent Grammy winner for his big band work. Let me see what I have here. That is basically what I wrote.
Great.
Yes, originally from South Africa. Yes. Stephen, if you had one piece of wisdom that you've gained over the years that has made your life richer since gaining it, but you wish you had it at the beginning of your career, what would it be?
Well, first of all, I'm from Tatooine as well. So find a corner later. Yeah, my parents are from South Africa. I was born in Tatooine, in Boston, for all of you who've been following along. Yeah, I guess really quickly before I say anything, thank you so much for putting this all together and for including me as well. It's really amazing to be a part of. And going off of that for a quick second, I'm also the last person to go, and many wise people have already spoken before me. So I'm not sure how much different wisdom I have to share. With that having been said, a couple of things that have been kind of going through my mind is, and one thing in particular has been echoing, which is that don't discount how willing to help people are if you ask for it. Isn't that part of Harry Potter, right? There's always help at Hogwarts for those who ask for it. I did just think of that right now.
It's great.
Premeditated, so Dumbledore is somewhere here. And with that piece of wisdom comes other subsets of wisdom, which if it's okay to share just a few quick things that I've learned. One of them is that your network is your net work. So this is kind of like summing up in many ways what many of you have previously said today, which is just, find your tribe and go out and be social and be yourself within that space, and you will find yourself in the right positions. So be open to what those may be. Don't let yourself get discouraged by gatekeeping, if that is indeed something that happens to you, and it has happened, I'm sure, to all of us at some point, and will happen again at some point. That's okay. That opportunity wasn't maybe meant for you at that time. But there are opportunities that are meant for you at the time that you're in right now. And so be ready for those opportunities when they come up. You never know what opportunity is going to present itself to you at a certain moment. All that I know is that you've got to be ready for them when they are, because things don't come around a second time if you're not ready. And if you take on a gig, do a good job. Don't just do the best job you can, make sure it's good, not just for your standards, but everybody's standards, and make sure it's the best if you can too. And then the last thing that I wanted to tack on to that is separate from any industry advice. It's just to take care of your health. It's the one thing you can never get back.
Yeah.
Just take care of, whether it's mental or physical health, just, honor yourself in that way.
I love that, and that brings you right back to where John was saying, listen to your gut, listen to yourself across the board. I mean, listen to what's channeling through you in ways, or what's channeling and coming in, what's in you. I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just take a peek at my watch. We have time. We didn't have time. I wasn't going to add anything, but we have time. I can add something. There's a lot to add. I think one of the one of the things, my name is Monica Ryan. I realized I didn't say my name. I'm so excited about these guys. I forgot to say my name. Okay. A lot of people, when they're young, equate their success at with the music business, with how good they are as an artist. And I see these things as two parallel tracks. You have two parallel tracks. There's being good at business and there's being a good artist. And they don't even need to cross. I think of them almost like you have two arms, right? And you work them both out at the gym, right? One side is being a good artist, being the best artist you can be. A lot goes into being the best artist you can be. You can overdevelop this muscle and not develop this muscle at all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then the other one is being great at business and the relationships and the social media and all the other stuff and the network, and you can be great at this and be a terrible artist. So what you want to do for your career in music is you want to work both muscles and understand that if one is a little weaker, it doesn't make you, it's not a qualitative good bad thing. It's that muscle needs attention, and you need to take time to nurture that attention. And they have different requirements of us for success. So if you think about Rails and you think about the business side needs to have no friction. It needs to move smoothly. That means you need to be organized. You need to have good relationships. You need to be reading trends and responding to what the market is doing. You need to be thinking about what other people are doing and adjusting, and you want to really care about the environment. On the art side, you don't want to care about the environment at all. You want no friction on the business side. On the art side, you want maximum friction. When there's no friction, things glide by, they never stop. When there's friction, things slow down. You want people to slow down to hear your art. You don't want them to glide by. You want to be true to your being. You want to be true to your message. You want to be true to your craft. It only matters if it's true to you. You want to be authentic. You do not want to be swayed by trends. So on that side, you want friction. So they're two separate muscles. And I think people forget that. They think it's just one thing. They're two separate things, and you're always developing. And if I had known that when I was a student at the New School, I would have gone so much further by now. But that's okay. I'm right where I need to be, and I'm very patient, as we said. So thank you very much, everybody. We're now going to open the floor up for questions. Yes?
Can I add one quick thing?
Yeah.
If you look at people who are successful, you see successful artists, think about what they do to be in a position to do their art, and it might not be what you think. Sometimes we think, well, they're making all their money from doing their art or whatever, but you look at some of the most successful people, look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. They are doing a lot of things to put forth their philosophy and their art. I'm not sure without those other things they could do those productions at that level, Or you get your Charles Ives who sold insurance, So it's interesting stuff. It's like throughout history. Mozart even, was working for the king, whatever. So it's worth thinking about.
But he wasn't only playing what the king wanted him to play.
Well, none of
He was
them
playing
are.
what he wanted to play,
I mean-
but he was keeping that relationship with the king nice and frictionless.
Yeah, well, maybe he didn't have as much power as Jay-Z and Beyonce.
I also think, I was thinking how would I define friction also, and I just came in to circle back on that notion. It's, I think friction is what you say and the way you say it. In the most simplest terms, it's what you say and the way you say it. That you could make something totally beautiful that says nothing, and it's so beautiful and has no snags and says absolutely nothing, and it will have no friction, so people will glide right by it. But if you say something that says something a little bit different, in a little different way, it's got something to capture people, and it's beautiful, but in a different way, you're creating a friction situation, a good friction in the art. So does anybody have any questions for this incredible group of people? Yeah?
Thank you.
There you go.
Hello, kia ora. My name is Leah. I'm originally from New Zealand, so it's a huge privilege to be in the room with all of you guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to try my best to make the question make sense, but I'm thinking when you have limited resources, so you're an early career artist, but you believe you have a product, whether it's an album or a musical, that's valuable, what should you prioritize to get it out there when you have a really empty bank account like I do?
I think we could all answer that in different ways. Anybody want to, do you have a specific person in mind you want to ask to?
No, I was just gonna, whoever feels
I have something general that's maybe not as specific, sorry, but to that. Often when you're looking for something outside of yourself, at least my experience has been, and we as humans see those people as able to do something for us. It might also be worth considering that maybe everyone's on a hustle, you know? So, and there's people legit doing what they're doing, but everyone's, you know, got to do their thing. They've got to feed their kids. They've got to, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. So maybe think about, in this case, like, if this is your first record and you think is really great, then probably your next one's going to be even better. You know, so think about what you, can you do any of those jobs? You know, can you, if you're, I think what I could sum it up by saying, if you're looking for other people to do things for you, you might want to rethink that a little bit, you know? Say even concert promoters, they, you know, they want someone who's going to bring some people or something. They want, it's a collaboration even with business. And so figure what you can do. It might not be what you want it to be on this first record, but is there a job, like promotion, like PR can be expensive, you know? How can you do something, you know? Like ask advice from people. ASK, as he was saying.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say was also, as it pertains to just what do you do if you don't have a bank account, what you could do in a situation is find the tools. There's many online free tools, you know, to make your art, be it a record or a musical, discernible, so that you would be able to pass it on to someone who can turn it into what you want it to be, and go ahead and gather up all your folks and do it yourself. And I know that that probably sounds incredibly glib, but it really, really works. One of the best Shakespeare comedies I ever saw was in Massachusetts, in the mountains of Massachusetts, and these students gathered on a green, ran a rope from one tree to another, hung a sheet up, and that was their stage. And they were so engaged, they climbed the trees, they did everything, and they had nothing. They had no money, they were starving students and everything. They knew exactly what they were saying, you know, they understood, you know, and they understood the play they were putting on, and it was phenomenal. And, you know, you sit there and you say, oh, well, you know, Broadway shows, and they're, you know, it's spangly, and there's lots of music, and there's a band, and, you know, all this stuff, and then you sit there, because, you know, that's business sometimes too. A lot of times. And so there's also those times where you just want to go see what other people are doing. And I must tell you, that was one of the most compelling Shakespeare comedies I ever saw. It was The Two Gentlemen of Verona. That may or may not be significant, really. But they just said, we're going to do it, and they got up and did it. It didn't matter what they had. They had very, very little. And it was really, I was really glad I was there. So if you have music, or you have a musical, or you have a story, or you know, there's so many tools that are like free online even, that you could make it into a discernible piece that other people could read, and, you know, and maybe someone would be like, oh, well, let me turn this into sheet music for you. I've got Sibelius or whatever. You know, there's all sorts of buddies around who probably have tools that, you know, software and stuff that could be helpful to you as well. if it's art, if it's a painting, paint it, show it, take pictures, let people see it, put it out where people can see. Because so many times people walk by and say, I want that, just because they beheld it. And so that's what, I grew up pretty poor. And so I just said, well, I'm just going to do whatever I can. The answer's always no if I don't ask. And in the audiobook industry, because I direct and produce audiobooks as well, one of the things that they say is compare equals despair, and compete equals defeat. Now, it doesn't mean you didn't win. It just means you're defeating yourself up here if you're looking all around at what everybody else is doing and you're not doing what you want to do. So.
I also think, I think we put on this website here, there's some resources. I recommend a couple books for indies that teach you how to do a whole lot of things yourself. There's a guy out there named Ari Herstand, and he has a new music podcast, and he has a great book. And it can be overwhelming, I'm going to tell you that already. It's very, very, very detailed on how to do all of these pieces of the music business yourself. But if you can take it in small bites, you can do a lot, if not most things yourself. The other thing I would say is I'm an indie artist. I'm recording my 16th album next month. And all of them have been indie. And I never have a budget. I self-fund. I would say you can also never underestimate the power of bartering. You might have something that somebody else wants. I was just recently looking at flyers from the early 90s of myself singing, oh look, Birdland at Smalls, I was so young, like looking at these pictures of myself. And I bartered babysitting to the graphic designer for those. And in my first head shop, I bartered babysitting for the headshots, because I was like 16, 15. I didn't have any money. Yeah. So you always have something people want, especially if you're creative. And if you have something they want, they have something you want, you can make a deal without money.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one of the great American philosophers said, get involved.
You can get involved. If it makes anybody feel better, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I will. I cleaned my ballet teacher's house once a week so that I could have ballet lessons. I really wanted them.
Yeah, you really wanted them.
And I was pretty good at cleaning.
Yeah. So and for creative people, it's actually just flexing that creative muscle. Yeah. How you can get what you need. And I think another thing is look for win-win scenarios. Just in life, isn't it a beautiful way to exist, where everybody wins? Like, life does not have to be a win-lose scenario, really, almost ever, unless the other person is pushing your hand. But most people want to win-win. So if you can both win simultaneously, then you won't be a loser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just one more quick thing on that is that, your question to me sounded like you were basically asking how can you self-produce something? And maybe as part of that is going to knock on other people's doors and asking how they can help you. But maybe it's also just figuring out what you yourself can do and how much of it you can do. Two quick thoughts. One of them is that collaboration is not only fun, but a really, really beautiful way to accomplish joint goals. And then the second thing is that down the line, when you do maybe want to be knocking on people's doors, one thing that comes in handy is proof that you yourself have believed in yourself enough to invest in yourself along the way. So why should anybody else invest in you if you haven't yet invested in yourself?
And you don't necessarily mean financial, do you? Do you mean time-wise?
I mean all the ways.
Yeah, okay,
financially,
right.
as well as time-wise and spiritually, and
right.
all of those things.
Nobody's going to give us anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
Necessarily, but they will.
Yeah.
We can.
I mean,
throw in.
for some people, I think it does happen like that, and that's awesome for them. It has
Comes with the cost.
Sure.
Are there any other questions anybody has?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Raf. I'm from Italy. Hello. Thank you for the invite. So I'm a DJ producer, so I feel like I'm in between the giants of jazz music here. So I consider my music a blend of jazz, soul, funky. Monica know what I'm doing, so I'm happy to be here and get influence from different kind of music. One of the questions I think is it's not all about my music genre. It's also for different kind of artists. I will make the story, that question short, if it is not easy, because we go way back in 1982. House music was born because Akai Sampler. So Akai Sampler from Chicago, that was Frankie Knuckles. So combining live music with electronic music. So he created new beats. So through the years, I've been doing DJ, now it's been 35 years. Through the years, I saw some DJ combining a sample with the house beats. Without the record company, became mainstream. So without to have a major label behind. So I don't see anymore this kind of situation, not only in the dance music, but also for, I see many talented jazz musicians, funk, soul, blues, no matter what. Talented people, but they don't have, great music. I say, when I see them playing, I say, wow, you are from another planet. But I see these people suffering because, I don't know if now it's because of the record company or because they don't have good promotion, they don't have marketing. My question I would say, so is follow all of you successful artists, but I would say Mr. John Dahl, sorry my Italian pronunciation. What's your suggestion for the independent artists to become mainstream, keeping the quality without to follow the restriction from the music market of today, no matter what kind of music genre? So, because many artists became big and still giving emotion to the people through their music expressions. Like example was a track is getting a sample of the In Excess, which is a funk pop band from UK. So he created a house beat, so it became a very huge dance club hit. So without to have a record company behind. So in your position as a big name in the music industry as a Columbia Record, what's your suggestion to encourage the new generation people, also those people who has a lot of talent inside, but they can express outside and reach the top level of the music market? I hope to restrict the word because it's a very tough question, because embrace different kind of era, different kind of music genre.
Right. Well, a couple things. First of all, you can never forget that when you're sampling somebody's work, they went through a lot of hard times to get that to that point. And now you're trying to use that platform that they've created for free for you to go do what you're want to do, which is a little unfair. And I think that the way the marketplace is set today, you find that a lot more openness to artists and labels to allowing sampling. And there's a lot more platforms that you can go to that you can find that pretty easy answer to whether you want to get the right to sample that or not. I think in the live environment, you have less of a pushback. It's more when it's some sort of recording, streaming, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, just to complete the question, because in order to put you in the position to give me the right answer, otherwise I confuse you. So then that track, one of the many tracks for sure, was able to get that label, release it officially. They paid the right to the In Excess band. So that's that's the early stage, but without the kind of extra spotlight on top for the DJ. So at that point, I don't think was able to reach the level. So he needs to do some kind of illegal work to grab a portion of the sample and show what he was able to do for the dance floor, and then the record company put the hand on top and pay the rights to the band. So it's not in my case, because I always have instruments, live musician in my session, so that's not my example. But just to explain that sometimes an artist needs to do something not legal in terms of a DJ to sample a part to show that he's able to let the dance floor dance. And then the record company says, okay, there's money to do, there's a successful track, so we can pay the rights. So I try to explain in short what I was meaning.
Are you saying make a demo with those samples from whatever artist, then shop that to a label?
So I'm sorry,
Are you saying make a demo with these samples? So you got Run DMC on there, some
Yeah,
beat
the
they
Run
got
DMC, yeah,
doing
yeah.
their thing, and you use that and someone you play classical music over or something.
like
Are you saying make a demo of that and then shop it?
yeah.
So you're not selling it before you.
No, it was a demo, free demo in acetate.
Free, like it
Playing,
was given.
everybody was happy. So and then the record company said, "Oh, this track they can make business for the record company, for the
I
record
guess it
market."
Depends if you're talking business or ethics, I guess, on some level.
Like example, there was another artist who is a jazz musician, talented, but doesn't have a record company who believe in the talents. So what he needs to do to get the exposure in the music market and to be seen for the big label or even independent label and get the exposure in the music market.
Well, I can speak to, I mostly record original music that I write. So I don't do this much anymore, but I used to record standards, and I have in the past, and I will never say that it won't happen again because there's great work out there and sometimes people want to hear that. But I think it's not the same because it's not an existing recording, but it's somebody's other composition. Usually you can buy the license for the song, and it's not too expensive to buy the license for a single song. If especially if you're only going to have a very small, limited pressing, I can't remember how much it is. I want to say it's like $100 sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. There's a deal to be made. It's not like everybody's going to come after you for a lot of money. And nowadays, the ability to do sampling either from a whole publishing standpoint or master use just have to go out and ask for the license.
Yeah.
That one is not my case because again, I don't sample nothing. I have a musician from my record company.
Yeah, there are licenses. You can get licenses for almost everything. Very few things can you. I mean, if the artist is very committed to not sharing that song, and the ASCAP and BMI will protect our rights to say no. So, say some politician that you don't like is out there and they want to use your song. You can say, no, I'm sorry, you cannot license my song to this politician. I don't care how much they like it. They have to find another piece. And that right is powerful, and we need to keep that right as creators. But, I mean, unless somebody's using it for some crazy reason, or the artist is really stuck with that song, you can find another piece of another song. I mean, I think the right to refuse use of your work for any artist should be protected. And it is protected. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Is there another question?
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I need the microphone?
Oh, I don't,
You have a good strong voice.
yeah, I can.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
Shout it to the mountaintops.
Some of you talked about like taking care of your health in your career, whether it's mental health or physical health or anything. I'm not looking for any medical opinions. I'm just wondering, like from an artist's point of view, what does that mean to you?
Don't do drugs.
Have boundaries.
I guess I'm the one that said that, right? Hey, Shane,
Me too.
by the way. Shane is a great bass player. You guys should connect.
Wonderful.
Yeah, what it means to me is that if you're not healthy, if you can't live, then you can't create. So you got to take care of the thing that allows you to create. Or you've got not to get too existential here, but you've got your spiritual self and you've got your physical self, and you can break that down a number of different ways. But let's just keep it easy with those two for now. And both need the other. It's like Monica's arms example, Art also for me is very physical. Playing the piano is as least physical as I can possibly. I mean, that's how pianists want to be as lazy as possible, you know, to create the most beautiful sound that they can possibly create. There are some instruments like the drums where that might be the opposite. I don't know. I'm not a drummer. But combining the physical and the spiritual, you know, and keeping your both of yourselves, keeping both of yourselves healthy, I think is a huge priority. You know, if you, I don't know, I'm you know, as you know, I'm a composer, arranger, orchestrator. If I'm working on a commission, whether it's, you know, whatever it's for, and I've got a week to do X amount of writing, and I spend the first night just, you know, hemming and hawing and procrastinating. And the next night, maybe I'm watching Monk right now on TV. You know, maybe I get distracted by this, and I set myself up to have several sleepless nights in a row. Is that me setting my art up for the most success? And if I can barely stay awake and focus, then I'm starting to approach the project from a perspective of, oh man, I just got to get this done. That's never how I want to approach making music. You know, I'm in music because I love it, and I think that probably you are too, and all of us on stage here. You know, even if you found it by accident, you know, we're still here because we just love the music so much, and you know. Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest, by the way, that I'm unhealthy.
You said boundaries.
You know, I'm very, you know, I'm just very cautious to be protective of myself in that regard. I hope that elaborates. Yeah, Maria.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it all kind of ties into the same thing, sort of, and boundaries around, you know, yes, like maybe you do deserve a night of watching Monk, you know, like boundaries of where does work end and where does your rest end, where are the other parts of yourself, and also, you know, demands from the outside. You can get a lot of pressure. A lot of people are going to be stick measuring on how much later they've been up and how many more gigs they've been playing than you, and blah blah blah. And you know, it's just, you know, setting boundaries, being able to say no when it's good to say no, and you kind of have to follow your gut for that. So, but yeah.
I think that it's fabulous advice on both accounts. And I know that we all have so much to share, but we are over our time. And Mia had to leave. She's off to a Broadway production she's working on, and she had a hard stop. And so thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We wish you every success in your career and your life as music makers. Go forth and create.
All kinds of